Hello, thanks for clicking. I'm Mark Morse, and you're watching The Week in Retrospect, Episode 4. I like to do these as kind of a recap of my week, what I've listened to, what I've watched, what I've been reading, that sort of thing. I've done this so I can talk more than just about vinyl. There's a lot of stuff I like to discuss. I primarily focus on vinyl, though, so I always do the vinyl first so my vinyl community friends can watch that, and if they're not interested in anything else, they can go on their merry way. I do want to say there will be no subliminal messages in this video. I don't know why I felt I needed to say that, but I just wanted everyone to know you don't have to worry about subliminal messages in this video. So let's get to the records. I haven't been listening to a lot of vinyl this week, but I have been listening to this record quite a bit. It's Elton John's Rock of the Westies. I won some albums on an auction hosted by Rob from The Wax, and this was a record he sent free with my other records. And I'd never heard this record before, and I was surprised when I looked it up that it was a #1 record for Elton John in the United States, because the only song I really was familiar with is a song called Island Girl. I wasn't super excited about this record because I really hadn't heard much about it, but then Vinyl Richie told me this is his favorite Elton John record. So I'm like, I am going to give this a serious listen. And I've been listening to it all week. The labels are kind of fun. And it really, like most Elton John records for me, I had to listen to it a few times for it to grow on me. It's something about Elton John, it doesn't hit me immediately. I usually have to listen to him a few times. It was the same with this album, but I'm going to say this is a really good record and much better than I anticipated, and I'm sure I'll be listening to it a lot. I want to show you some of the fun stuff that they did with this record. First of all, it comes with the lyrics. I'm a word man, so I like music, but I like it even more if the lyrics mean something to me or they're interesting. This is the period when Elton John was still working with the lyricist Bernie Taupin, so these are great lyrics. The other thing I like about this album is it has a lot of fun stuff on here. That's the producer. And under all these pictures, it has like funny little stories. That's Gus Dudgeon, age 56, but don't tell anyone. Producer extraordinaire gets sexually excited near Baker Street Station. So it has all the band members, mentions what they play, and they all have silly little things like that on there. I just thought that was fun. All these songs are really good. Starts off with Medley, which you'll probably recognize more as Yell Help. Dan Dare, Pilot of the Future. If you're into comic books, especially English comic books, you might recognize Dan Dare. Then Island Girl, which we've talked about. Grow Some Funk of Your Own, kind of a funny little story, kind of reminds me of Give Me 3 Steps by Leonard Skinner. And one of the greatest names for a song, I Feel Like a Bullet in the Gun of Robert Ford. I love the name of the song. The song hasn't grown on me itself. I do love the lyrics. It's a slower song, but I do like it. Side 2 starts off with Street Kids. I really like this song. Apparently, Street Kids is used on one of the Grand Theft Auto games. I thought that was interesting. Hard Luck Story. Feed Me. Feed Me is probably my least favorite song on here, but that doesn't mean it's a bad song. And Billy Bones and the White Bird. It's a really catchy catchy album, really nice tunes. Uh, Elton John in his prime. 1975 is when this came out. I'm a little surprised I've not heard it before, but I am not a giant Elton John fan. I do have disc and records from him, but I'm not an authority on him by any means. But this is a very good album. I'm glad I got it. Thank you, Rob, if you're watching. And thank you, Vinyl Richie, for giving me the heads up that it's one of your favorite albums. It made me listen to it with a little more seriousness. And believe it or not, another record I've been listening to a lot this week, or at least somewhat, the Beatles, A Hard Day's Night. I tend to listen to a lot of the later Beatles. I always say from Rubber Soul on are my favorite Beatle records. So sometimes these records, even though I've heard them hundreds of times, I've heard them less than the later records. And for some reason, this just kind of jumped into my head, and I started playing it, and I forgot what a great record this is. This is the Parlophone record. There's also a United Artists soundtrack that I'll show you too. But there's the Beatles on the back, just in case you don't know what they look like. This is a reissue, of course. But this is such a fun record, and I was just overjoyed to hear it again. You know, of course, it has A Hard Day's Night on there. I should have known better. If I fell, I'm happy just to dance with you. And I love her, tell me why, and can't buy me love, side 1. Side 2, anytime at all, I'll cry instead. Things we said today, when I get home, you can't do that, and I'll be back. This is a really great little Beatles record. So, I don't know what else I can say about a Beatles record as iconic as A Hard Day's Night, but that's what I've been listening to this week, and it reminded me of the motion picture soundtrack from United Artists. So this isn't the same as the Parlophone record. It has a lot of the instrumental music they played throughout the movie. But what's interesting about this is the original Canadian release of the record. And it's just kind of cool to me. So I thought I'd show you that too. I hope you're enjoying this Subliminal free episode of the Week in Retrospect. Another thing I like to do with this Week in Retrospect video is to shout out a few vinyl channels that I've been enjoying over the week. And I have 2 of them that I want to shout out today, and I'll link to them below. The first one is Catherine from Catherine S. Her latest video is of her going to see Howard Jones in concert. She got a front seat view. She has a lot of videos, lots of information on the records she shows. And then the other one I want to mention is Daryl from Northern Vinyl Guy. Has a great theme song. This guy is far north Canada, and his latest video is talking about the issues he experiences being a vinyl collector so far out of normal society. Sometimes I talk about books on my retrospective videos, but today I'm going to talk about comics. I've been watching a lot of videos from Garage Geek and Hull Yeah Comics, and I'm not a comic collector. I used to collect them in the 70s and 80s. I gave up long ago, but I was reminded of a story regarding Steve Niles. And let me tell you, read to you what a Wikipedia page says about Steve Niles. Steve Niles is an American comic book author and novelist, known for works such as 30 Days of Night, Criminal Macabre, A Cal McDonald Mystery, Simon Dark, Mystery Society, Batman, Gotham County Line, Kick-Ass, The New Girl, and Kick-Ass vs. Hit Girl. He is credited among other contemporary writers as bringing horror comics back into prominence. So I did not. I'd seen the movie 30 Days of Night, and I really enjoyed it. He wrote the screenplay for that, I believe, based off one of his graphic novels. But I have a Tumblr page called Blue Ruins that I'll link to below. And years ago, Steve Niles also had a Tumblr page. My page is mostly monster horror related stuff. It's been going on since 2011 or 2012, something like that. Well, I started getting messages from Steve Niles. I didn't know who he was, but he was asking me questions about certain movies and stuff. And the more we corresponded, the more I realized this guy was really somebody I should be paying attention to. And I found out he had authored 30 Days of Night. And we had a great communication. And he started sending me comic books, many of them autographed. They just started showing up, and just a real nice guy. His Tumblr page was called Arcane Images. He's taken it down. It's been down for years now. The artwork in these comics is done by Sam Keith, authored by Steve Niles, and just some great comics. I wanted to show these off because I've always been impressed that Steve Niles, he took the time. He knew I was a fan of horror and horror images, and he took the time to send me these things. He didn't even ask for postage. They just showed up in the mail. I'm just showing the 30 Days of Night comics, but he sent me lots more that maybe I'll show later. The other thing this guy did is I told him I worked in a shelter with kids from 12 to 17 that have been removed from their home either from neglect or abuse or maybe juvenile delinquent activities. And he sent me, he had authored books about Frankenstein, Dracula, the werewolf, I believe, Wolfman. And he sent me some of those books to put in the library at the shelter so kids could read them. And within like 6 months, they were all stolen and taken away. But I told him that is the biggest compliment you can get from one of these kids. They love your work enough to steal it and take it with them when they leave. I just wanted to show you the cover of this. I know David from Garage Geek is interested in comics. I don't know how many people are interested in this kind of stuff, but I really enjoyed them. And I do like the artwork. Look at that. And then Steve also worked with Bernie Wrightson, a very famous illustrator and artist. Did a Frankenstein graphic novel, I believe. This is another signed one. But I just wanted to, because I've been watching a lot of channels dealing with comics. I thought I would show off a few that I have there. So that's my Steve Niles story. Steve, once he got off of Tumblr, we didn't really have much communication after that. And then eventually, I didn't hear from him anymore. We just weren't on the same platforms. I will link to his official page down below, though. Very interesting guy, very nice guy. So I would recommend you check him out. And this is my favorite part of the Week in Retrospect videos. It's where I chronicle my week, what I've done. Sometimes there's vinyl related topics, sometimes not. but it's just a review of my week and some of the highlights I think you might enjoy, and it's just a good way to preserve memories for me. So I usually go from Sunday to Saturday, but sometimes after I've posted the video on Saturday, more things happen on Saturday. So sometimes I go back and grab a couple things. And if you remember, my daughter came back from Los Angeles last Friday. I didn't get to see her much then. And then on Saturday, she went to Des Moines, Iowa, where she went to an amusement park called Adventureland with her mom, her stepfamily, and her half sisters. So I was okay with that because I knew Sunday was going to be my day with her. So as I was sitting around Saturday, I started getting these photographs from her mom. Her mom would send me Snapchats of Luxy doing things and just being real cute. And it's just like, I wish I was there, but this is not my day. Sunday's my day. So I would get these pictures. And then my friend Colby and her daughter Lily, who I hang out with all the time, as you may remember, and we'll see later in this video, they were in Adventureland and they ran into Luxy. And Colby sent me a picture of her and Luxy in Adventureland. So everybody was seeing Luxy on Saturday except for me, her own father. But I kept telling myself, Sunday's my day. We planned Sunday together. Sunday will be our day. So Sunday I got up early and I had been making sure that my calendar was clear for Sunday because I wanted to be ready whenever Luxy was ready. I wanted to be ready to do something. So I usually reserve all my household chores and stuff for Sunday. I do all that stuff on Sunday. It's awful, but that's what I do. But I did it all on Saturday, so Sunday would be free. Steve from All the World's a Stage, he said, "Hey Mark, could you be on the panel with us for Sunday night vinyl confessions?" I said, normally I would jump on this, Steve, but I want to keep the day open for Luxy. Lily, who I've mentioned recently, I call her my niece. She's not really a blood niece, but somebody I've known since she was a kid, and she calls me her uncle. She's more of a friend, really. But she wanted to do something. I said, you know what, we can do something, but let's do it early in the morning. Let's go out for breakfast and coffee because I know Luxy's a late sleeper, so we could be safe and do something in the morning. So we went out for coffee and did some grocery shopping. I'll post a picture of her. She looked so adorable. I took a picture of her right in the middle of the grocery store. And then I took her home, and then I went home to wait for the call from Luxy. Like, she's going to be ready to do something. I am going to be ready. I get the call for Luxy. I pick it up. There's been a snag in the plans. She has a friend she hasn't seen for a while, and the friend had a baby. So she was only available on Sunday for Luxy to go out and see her and visit the baby.
Oh, fasten your seatbelts. We're going to see the baby.
So Luxy said, you know what? I only have this one day to visit my friend and the new baby. Let's get together after you get off work tomorrow on Monday. And so my day was pretty much flattened after that. I had a lot of time on my hands. I decided I would make some French fries for lunch. The timer on the air fryer got stuck. Burn them to a crisp. I'll post a picture here. And that's just kind of how my day went on Sunday. But then I had Monday to look forward to. So Monday was a rainy, gray day. but I was not deterred. I knew I'd be seeing Luxy after work, and that helped me get through the day. I left work a little early that day to meet up with Luxy and her mom for supper. I'll post some pictures of her as we reunited that day outside the restaurant. But what I really want to show you is after we ate, I did a little interview with Luxy, and I want to show you that because I think she's adorable, and I want to show you what a Beatle fan she is. So let's roll the clip. Oh, we just finished a nice meal in Bubby Q's in Southeast Iowa. This is Luxy, all the way from Los Angeles. I had a couple questions for her I thought we could talk about her adventures in LA so far. So how's it going, Lux?
Good.
Good.
LA's fun.
Awesome. So what's your favorite parts about LA?
My favorite parts of LA are probably the food and the weather. I really like the weather.
Do they have palm trees there, or is that just a rumor?
There's palm trees everywhere.
Okay.
Everywhere you look, there's palm trees.
Did you ever meet any famous people that you can talk about? I know you've signed a confidentiality thing from where you work.
Probably can't talk about it, but I have met some famous people's siblings.
Oh, awesome.
I've met them.
Awesome. Well, one thing I wanted to do was to test your Beatle knowledge. I bought this record.
Okay.
I bought this record a few months ago, and I just want to see if you can tell me what's special about it. So this is the record I'm showing Luxy.
Okay.
You examine it and you tell me if there's anything special about this record.
I can tell right away that we see Ringo's collar here, which means it's a second state Butcher's album.
I love you, Luxy. I'm so proud of you. Well, thanks for doing this little interview with me. I love
No
you
problem.
very much. And say hello to my vinyl community friends.
Hello.
And now we're going to continue with our post-dinner activities. So that was my little interview with Luxy. Just in case you aren't aware, this is what we were talking about with the Beatles record, Second State Butcher's cover. The Butcher cover is an infamous album put out, it was called Yesterday and Today, and it was put out by the Beatles. It showed the Beatles in lab coats covered in meat and doll parts, pretty gruesome. It went out, and immediately there was a public backlash. They took all the records back, or a lot of them, and instead of making brand new covers, they just made another label and put it over the cover. So these things are very valuable. Some people peel the cover so you can see the meat or the Butcher cover underneath. I have this one. I did not peel it. If you get the album and it's never had the fake label put over it, it's called First State. If you get the record and it hasn't been peeled, but it's underneath there, it's called Second State. And the way you can tell is, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on this video, but you can vaguely see Ringo's black shirt showing through his lab coat underneath there. That's how you know that the Butcher cover is under this label. And so I got this recently. I did a video on it, so if you want to watch it, you can go back. But it's pretty rare. They're not easy to find, and when they are, they're pretty expensive. So I just wanted to test Luxy, and of course she found it a lot faster. I thought she might not get it, or it would at least take her a while, but she noticed it right away. So that was what that was all about. We spent some time together after the meal. On Tuesday, Luxy's plane left at 3:07 p.m. and she flew back to Los Angeles. She'll be back in October for her birthday. But the rest of Tuesday felt pretty empty. On Wednesday, I had a big meeting at the corporate office. And before I went there, I was thinking, you viewers, all you get to know of me is what you see of me on here or what I tell you. So I thought, what better way for you to get to know me better, as I know you want to do, than by asking my colleagues and superiors what they think about me. So what I did before I went to the corporate office for this luncheon and meeting, I got my video microphone ready, and this next segment I like to call How to Get Fired in One Easy Step. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, I'm in my car. Every month at the corporate office, supervisors and directors get together for a luncheon and a meeting. I'm going to go in there and try to get some candid opinions on what it's like to work for Mark Morse. I don't know how this is going to go, but they won't fire me. I'm just some senile old man who doesn't know what he's doing. I'm going inside. Hey, this is my HR director. I've been in this office many times. What's your opinion of Mark Morse?
A stand-up young man. I've always been impressed with his intensity, his intelligence, and his integrity.
Sounds like BS, folks. This is one of my directors, Jenna.
Are we live?
We are live on YouTube.
Hi, everybody.
We're not really live.
Oh.
What's your impression of Mark Morse?
Mark Morris. My impression of Mark Morris is he's a stand-up guy.
Pretty easy on the eyes, would you say?
Pretty, yes.
All right, that's what we need. Oh, Jamie. Yeah, Jamie doesn't want to be on there. What do you think of Mark Morse being one of your colleagues, Jamie?
Oh, I can't do this just on the spot.
Yeah, you gotta do it on the spot.
Mark's hilarious.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No.
This is my executive director. I'll be fired after this. What's your opinions of Mark Morse?
This is amazing. Wonderful. Who are we sending this to?
It'll be on YouTube for all my subscribers.
Mark is amazing.
Would you say he was a
Tall,
glass of
handsome
water?
man.
Don't even think about it, Mark.
This is everybody. What do you think of Mark Morse? Okay, thank you, Catherine.
I take it.
Hey, Judy.
Hi, Mark.
What would you say about me as a person and as an employee?
As a person, I would say that Mark is one of my very best friends. And
Good looking?
yes, good looking. Yes. And if I ever needed anything, I know he would drop everything he's doing to help me. He is an exceptional employee. I can't say enough good things about him.
Sounds like I need a raise.
It sounds like you do need a raise.
Awesome. Well, I love you, Judy.
I love you too.
Bye-bye. Okay, so I didn't really get fired, and the jury's still out on that raise. Later that evening, I went home, and I decided to relax by watching some episodes from my favorite VC channels. This takes a little explanation, and it involves the Let It Be album Naked. Let It Be Naked is what it's called. And it came out in the early 2000s, maybe 2003. I wasn't collecting records at the time, so I bought it on CD, but I never bought it on vinyl. When I started buying records again, I wanted to get all the Beatles records, and Let It Be Naked is the only one left that I do not have. What it is it's Let It Be, but it's done the way that they intended. So it doesn't have the Phil Spector orchestration on there. It took out a lot of the conversation. I admit it's not the greatest record in the world. I actually prefer the Phil Spector version, but I do want this record, but it is incredibly expensive. It's never been reissued, so everybody wants it. All the Beatle fans want it, and so it's selling for ridiculous prices, like up to $500 I've seen. And I just don't have the money to buy that. That's the prelude to this story, what I'm calling the dumb luck of EmbryonicRobot. That's Brian. I was watching his channel that day, and in one of his videos, he brings up the album, Let It Be Naked. He holds up a copy of the album. And so I'm like, oh, that's the record I want. But as I'm watching him, I'm thinking, well, at least Brian really loves the Beatles.
The Beatles, Let It Be Naked. I'm not a huge Beatles fan.
So maybe Brian doesn't really love the Beatles, but I bet he at least has a healthy Beatles collection.
Apart from this piece of vinyl, I have 2 other Beatles records, and they're both comps. I do have CDs, not all of them though, so believe it or not, there are some Beatles songs I've never heard. I've never even heard the first 2 or 3 Beatles records in their entirety.
So maybe he doesn't have a very big Beatles collection, but he certainly must have enough interest in the Beatles to have gone out and searched out Let It Be Naked.
However, I was walking downtown Toronto maybe 8 or 10 years ago, and I was in HMV. This record from 2003, I looked up on the wall, and there were 6 or 7 copies of this, and they all had a price tag on them of $12.99 Canadian.
Okay, maybe he didn't have to search it out. Maybe he just stumbled upon it. But he must have knew what a gem he had found when he came across it.
And I said, well, I don't really know what this is all about, but I thought for $12.99 I'm going to buy it, so I bought one. Now my big regret is that I didn't buy the entire stack. I should have. Who knew? When you look it up on Discogs, it's worth more than that now.
Who knew? Who knew indeed, Brian? Well, I'm sure he at least had several hours of listening enjoyment from the record, so we got that.
Yeah, I've only listened to it a couple times, believe it or not. It's pretty much minty, but that was probably the best deal ever.
Thursday was a pretty quiet day. I settled down in the evening time and watched a live stream from Garage Geek. He was talking with Donald Rex, and they were sharing some of their collectibles. Donald Rex actually showed his entire record collection on this stream, and he has a favorite
album of what I have. This is John Lennon and Yoko Ono, Heart Play. I really admire them, and I like this album.
Awesome.
And of course, being the impulsive maniac I am, I immediately got on eBay and purchased that John and Yoko Heart Play record myself. I'll probably be talking about that in a later episode. So Friday is the day that my niece/friend Lily and I tried to watch a movie. This week I bought the movie Love Lies Bleeding. This is one of Lily's choices she wanted me to watch. And so I was pretty excited. This was Friday's movie night. It's becoming one of my favorite days of the week. But of course, we had to do our normal ritual of picking up some supplies first. So this was the first time I'd seen this movie, and it's out of my what they would call wheelhouse in the vinyl world. But let me read you what it says. I think this is from the IMBD site. From director Rose Glass comes an electric new love story. Reclusive gym manager Lou falls hard for Jackie, an ambitious bodybuilder headed through town to Vegas in pursuit of her dream. But their love ignites violence, pulling them deep into the web of Lou's criminal family. This is rated R for violence, grisly images, sexual content, nudity, language throughout, and drug use. This is truly a brutal film starring Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien as the lesbian lovers. This film was, I do not usually enjoy films that just show unabashed brutality, and there were a few times where I was a little shocked. We watched it with Lily's mom, Colby. Colby actually gasped a couple times. It was pretty funny. But I have to say, this is a very good film if you're into that kind of thing. It's one you have to think about. There's a lot of metaphor involved here, but it's a really gritty, cinematic piece of art. There's very little time to breathe and catch your breath. It's a very intense film all the way to the very end. And it has some kind of comic book elements to it, especially as you approach the end. I don't want to give away too much, but I will say at the end of it, Colby's review of the film was, "That's stupid, and I'll never get those hours back." This is one of Lily's favorite films, and though I wouldn't classify it a favorite film of mine, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. It deserves another viewing. It's one of those films that you probably get more out of it the more times you see it. I've seen it described as a dark comedy. I don't really see many comic elements in this movie. I would probably give this a 3.5 out of 5 if I were to have to rate it, but I wouldn't recommend it to everybody. If you are sensitive to brutality, violence, this is not the film for you. After watching the movie, everybody was pretty keyed up. It was a pretty intense film. So Lily and Colby and I went outside, and Lily's brother Ethan had a friend over, and we just kind of relaxed on the back porch. After relaxing for a little bit, Lily reminded me that her exotic animals were going to need to be fed, and it's that skink machine.
No, you don't gotta take it out on me. Got too much sass in there for a lizard. I think I should get some showed my mom this stuff.
He knows what's coming.
They all do. They know. They know what the tongues are. Let's go. So, digging through it. He might fall down here. Be prepared for that. Put it somewhere so don't mess up your camera. Today, they're all awake right now, Mark. If you want feeding videos of any of these animals, this is the time. Oh, that wasn't especially done. Julius. Here, get back, baby. I can't touch it real good, so you gotta go. Good boy.
And that brings us to Saturday today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this subliminal message-free video. See you next week.